Okay, welcome back to another Between the Pages book chat. And today our guest is sci fi author Dave Welch. And his book we're talking about today is Evolving Crane, and it's the first book in the Evolving series. And now I'm going to turn it over to him and let him introduce himself. So take it away.
Hey everybody, my name is Dave Welch. I grew up in Macon, Georgia. It was a pretty rough city back in those days. There was a lot of bullies, a lot of churches at the same time. And I came up there, being bullied in school, and I was surrounded by a lot of, drugs and alcohol, all this bad stuff. And I really didn't want to go down that same path. I was more of a nerd. I stayed in computers. I was always watching cartoons, and I just couldn't get with that crowd, and I was like more of an outcast. People, in school, they couldn't understand why I was always coloring and drawing, and they was like, hey, why don't you, do this? Why don't you do that? And come hang with the fellows, all this kind of jazz. But I just couldn't get into it. I ended up moving to Warner Robins, Georgia. That's they got the Air Force Base there, and I went to high school. I graduated from high school, and then I moved up to Atlanta to get away from all of this, kind of stuff. I wanted to branch out, with art and with writing, and I just wanted to explore, the artistic realm. And I ended up going to school for animation, getting a bachelor's degree in media arts. So yeah, I found out how to animate, how to make cartoons, and I wanted to produce my own cartoon. And I realized how expensive it is to make a cartoon. I don't know if anybody knows, but you've got to have like a ton of manpower. You got to have a lot of time. You need a studio with a lot of equipment. And I was like, yo, I can't afford this. Uh, I want to get this cartoon out. I had been working on it for like 30 years. I've been working on that cartoon for a long time, and I couldn't find any other way to get it out. And something spoke to me. It was like, hey, why don't you just write? Just write about the story, put it down on paper. And I was like, I could tell the story, because I've got it all in my head. And I figured if I could tell the story enough, maybe I could build a fan base, and then possibly, get enough people interested enough that I could, get it on TV, get it on television. And that's how everything got started. That's how Evolving Crane came about. And I put out the first novel, and the cover was really encrypted. I thought that I could use my artistic talents to make a cover, and I did that, and I thought it was cool. I was like, man, this is awesome work. I love the way this looks. And I put the novel out, and it flopped. It flopped real bad, and I was like, what's going on here? What's happening? Why is no one buying this book? And I met with a marketing agent, and he saw my cover. He was like, yo, man, what is this? I was like, hey, this is my life's work, man. It's the best thing ever. He was like, yo, take that crap down, man. I was like, what? Why? And he explained to me the difference between just, regular art and performing art for graphic novels and creating art for a sci-fi novel. It looks totally different. So after getting that information, I pretty much just backed up. I took the book down from Amazon, and I went back to the drawing board, and that's where I'm at now. I finally got like a decent cover. The guy, his name is Ryan Schwartz. That guy did a phenomenal job on the front cover, and I finally got the novel to a pretty nice, I'm going to say polished area. So yeah, and I'm scheduled to launch tomorrow on the 30th. Scheduled to launch, yeah.
And I've seen the cover, and it is quite nice looking.
Yeah,
So.
that guy's serious, man.
Yeah, definitely on the sci-fi brand. So give us a
Exactly.
little overview of the book. What's it about?
Okay, so Evolving Crane, it's about an alien race. They are going through genocide. They're being killed off It's a few of them left, and they're finally deciding to stand up, for themselves. So an incident occurs in the book where one of the characters he ends up slaughtering like a lot of people, uh, and the response because of that, it ends up waking it wakes up this race of evil androids, and they start spreading throughout the galaxies, and they start reaching the multiverse. They start abducting all of these people from various planets, and they end up abducting a guy from Earth named Arlo Crane. And that's when the story just starts to go bonkers. This guy, he was, and he still is, kind of messed up, and I guess they didn't realize it, and he goes through a augmentation. They, conduct all of these experiments on him, and they turn him into something else. Uh, they fuse him with another alien race, and he comes back to life, and they shove him into this war that they're dealing with, with this other race. And uh, I think the story is really, it really touches on a lot of different things that we as humans deal with, and I kind of wanted to keep it as far as fetch as it is, as sci-fi is. I still wanted to make relatable characters. I wanted to make it to where people could believe it, even though it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the main character. What's he like?
Crane. He is a recovering crackhead. Uh, he was highly skilled in like several forms of martial arts. He knows a lot of jiu-jitsu. He knows a lot of taekwondo. He's got like a wrestling and a kickboxing background. He's one of those type of grungy guys, but he got off the beaten path, met with some bad people, and they ended up uh, inducting him into a life of crime. But he made a comeback, and he started to make some changes about his life, and that's when he met his girlfriend, who unfortunately is a FBI agent. And yeah, it's weird because they end up getting together, and she wants to turn him in, but she can't. She's in love with him at the same time, and it's just a weird triangle of love they got going on. And he ends up, making a difference for himself. He stops committing crimes. He becomes a father, and things kind of turn for the worse as the story develops. But I think he's somewhat of an anti guy, like an anti-hero type of dude. You like him, but you don't, because he does some pretty mean things to people, but he always keeps that tender and that loving side about himself. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I like a good anti-hero. So.
Yeah. Me too.
Okay, so what was the hardest scene for you to write in the book?
Oh man, I think the toughest thing that I had to deal with Evolving Crane, the first book is always the toughest book. I don't know if anyone knows, but especially when you're making a series, those series are really hard to pull off because you gotta attract the customer, and you want the readers to read the second, third, fourth. You want them to read every book in the series, and the biggest thing is the hook that's in the book. And I think the toughest thing I had to deal with the first book was the continuity and the way the story was being told. I after sending it out to my ARC readers and the street team, those guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Uh, they did a lot of reading, and they gave me some critical information, and I took it in stride, and that's why I love them so much, because I can hear what they're saying, and I had the opportunity to make adjustments here and there, and it was some things I had to do with the story. I made so many different edits Oh my gosh, I know Amazon is tired of me uploading the book 4 and 5 times a day, you know. But I actually had to move some chapters around. I had to readjust some of the things that was happening with the characters. I had to I lost like 30 pages. Yeah, it was like 430 pages at one point. And after getting it back, getting so many, so much feedback from it, I end up losing like 30 pages. Like really, and when I did that, it made the story flow a lot smoother. The continuity was more solid then. So, and that was the toughest thing about writing the first book, because as a writer, we want to put everything on the paper. We think we're supposed to tell the whole story, even the smallest bit of information, and sometimes you can tend to be a bit too descriptive. You want to tell the story, but you don't want to tell too much of the story. You make the reader start falling asleep on your book, and if they fall asleep on your book, they're not gonna want to read it. It puts me to sleep. I'm not excited when I read this book. I'm sleepy. So I that was the biggest thing I had to deal with, was keeping that novel with a good pace, so it just runs. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, conversely, what was your favorite scene to write in the book?
Oh man. Now that I think about that is a great question, for real. Uh, the my most favorite scene in that book in particular is, I would have to say, when the main character, he's going around and he's meeting people, and they're trying to help lure him away from the criminal life. They're trying to lure him away from making any further bad decisions. He meets a priest, and he meets a football player. The guy's a running back, and the running back actually invites him to his house. The guy stays in a huge marble mansion, and what Crane doesn't realize is that this football player is just as psychotic as he is. Like, this guy, he's extremely fast. Like, he's unnaturally fast, and that's kind of what sparked Crane's attention, and that's what made him want to go out and meet the guy. And he's sitting there with this dude, and the guy is just, he's so loony. Like, he does everything fast. He talks fast. He walks fast. He's just all over the place, and Crane has a hard time keeping up with him because he's just so overboard. And I think that was one of the most energetic scenes that I wrote, because the guy, he would streak out in nudity sometimes, running across across the scene. He has a dynamic sister that Crane falls in love with. So it's a lot of like chemical reactions going off during that scene. And I think that's around the final chapter. But that was probably one of the most funnest things I had to write in the first novel.
Okay, so that's a nice segue into the next question, which is, tell us a little bit about some of the secondary characters, which you just did
Oh
on a
yeah,
couple of.
yeah. So the guy, the running back, he's playing for the Giants, New York Giants. As he's a football phenomenon. The guy's got incredible speed. His name is Corey Dunlow, and he's a younger guy, and he has a younger sister by the name of her name is what's her name? Uh, well. Let me tell you about the priest first. Crane meets the priest first. This is the first person he meets, and the priest is like 75, maybe 80. He's up there, older guy, but he's one of those older guys that still has a six pack. Like, all of his hair is still in his head. He's still spry. He took care of himself, but the priest he wants to help Crane a lot, so they end up becoming pretty good friends. And the the priest is actually the person who drives him to meet the Dunlows, the running back Corey Dunlow and Okani. That's what her name is, Okani Dunlow. She's like a phenomenal woman. He falls in love with her as soon as he sees her, and yeah, I think those guys are like pretty. They're pretty profound in the story, but the person that really kind of set the tone for the entire book is Crane's girlfriend, Kanaya Lawson, the FBI agent. Okay, this woman is like, she's a gorgeous woman as well, beautiful woman, but she has a lot of problems. She's got a lot of issues, like mental things that's going on in her head. And uh, she gets with Crane. Crane ends up training her how to defend herself. He teaches her, all of these different types of martial arts. He shows her how to shoot a gun, and he pretty much gets her to another level in life. She ends up getting promoted on a job. She takes the role as she moves from a bounty hunter and she becomes more of like a hitman. So she's got like, the ability to just walk in and, target somebody. There you go. But yeah, she goes through a major character shift, a major character change. She realizes later on in the story, I don't want to give away too much, but she realized that there's some sort of like, I don't want to say mutant, capabilities about her, but she is not the normal average woman. It's something really going wrong with her inside of her body. And I leave that kind of open to the reader so, they can see her character progress throughout the novels. Because I really like her. If I had to, decide who was my favorite character, I would probably say her. Kanaya Lawson is, a lot of people like her. When they read her aspect and her perspective of the story, they a lot of people just fall for it right then and there. Yeah.
Okay, so what are your characters afraid of?
I think, yeah. Well, Crane, he's definitely afraid of loss. He doesn't want to be alone. He hates being alone. He and the story kind of drags him. The book drags Crane really bad because it's about him evolving. So the novel really takes him through the mud. The Dunlows, Corey Dunlow, he's afraid of time because he's fast. He hates being late for anything. That's why he's always running. He's always talking fast, doing everything fast. His sister, she's afraid to love. She's afraid to love. She's afraid to care completely because she's maybe maybe throwing out another spoiler there, but she's still a virgin. But she's like one of the beautifulest women Crane has ever met. And I'm going to say that the priest, Quincy, Father Quincy, that's what they call him. Father Quincy is afraid of aliens. He is like really dead afraid of aliens because he's gone to church. He's been Catholic preacher for all of his life, but in this story, in this reality, in this world, he's seen some pretty strange things, and it kind of boosts the belief in and alien abduction, alien activity, and he sees this kind of stuff, and it's terrifying to him because to him all he knows is that, hey, there's a God, and that's all I know. But now I'm seeing aliens. What's going on? And that's kind of his quarrel. That's his fear. And I think Kanaya is afraid of. She's afraid of Crane. She's really afraid of Crane just like losing it. But she kind of internalizes the fear, and she attempts to use it against him at times. But that's what she's afraid of. Yeah.
Okay, so you write sci-fi, obviously, but are there any
Oh,
other
yeah.
genres that you want to explore in the future?
People keep telling me to write a love story, to do some romance. They keep saying that. So I don't know if I'm gonna do that or not. But I mean, if I do branch out and I, maybe look to explore another genre, it might be romance.
Yeah, well,
Or maybe.
don't look at me for romance. I don't write
Right. Romance.
I write horror and dark fantasy as
Oh
farthest from
yeah.
romance as you can get. So
I like it. I love the dark
got
fantasy.
great respect for romance authors, though. That is hard
Yeah,
stuff to write.
it is. It is. Yeah, because if it's just me deciding, I want to put action and horror in nearly every book I write. But for me to just mellow out and just do straight romance, it would be a huge challenge. But people say that I could do it. They tell me I could probably write a good romance novel. I'm like, I don't know, maybe.
Anyway, so I think we'll wrap it up here on that note and let you tell everyone where they can find you and your book.
Okay, yeah. Evolving Crane is available on Amazon. It's available on Google Play. It's on Kobo. It's on Goodreads. It's available in let's see. I said Amazon already. Google, Kobo, and I think it's in Barnes and Nobles too. So these are all digital formats. Uh, Amazon has a paperback if you're interested in paperback, and I think Google and Kobo will get it for you in hardback as well. So you got eMobi, you got the ebook, and you got paperback and hardback volumes available, and that's August the 30th is when we will launch. And you can find me on Facebook. You can just search Dave Welch. You can find me on my internet website, www.davetheauthor.com. Click on that. You can see all the links. You can read my bios, all that stuff.
Okay, great. And we have the Amazon link to the book in the description if anyone's interested, so you can check it out. And I'd like to thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure chatting.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Between the Pages, we'll be back next weekend with another author. So join us then, and bye for now.